Netflix just came out with Volume 2 of Cuphead, so we're going to talk about all the differences and similarities to the video game that it sprung up from. Click up here in the corner to see Part 1 if you haven't already, or use the link in the pinned comment down below. Now, Season 1 of course ended with the boys meeting Miss Chalice and breaking into a cookie factory, at the end of which they passed out, and Miss Chalice had no choice but to escape by turning into a ghost. The boys would then be thrown in prison, leaving us on a dramatic cliffhanger. Volume 2 picked up with an episode about the boys having to escape prison, and then in a second episode, they reunite with Miss Chalice, where they finally learn that she is a ghost. Now, when Volume 1 came out, only the original Cuphead game existed, where Miss Chalice was a spirit who the boys would rescue in many levels throughout the game. As of yet, they had not released the DLC expansion, The Delicious Last Course, which trailer showed would feature the Chalice spirit as a playable character. In the show, Miss Chalice returns in Episode 2 after Cuphead and Mugman have failed to dance their way into Elder Kettle's cookie jar. She claims an angry mob is chasing her and barricades them all inside. Despite this, they spend a day out on the town, and the boys realize that Miss Chalice doesn't have a mob after her at all. When confronted with this seeming lie, she claims that she really just wanted to spend more time with the boys. Believable considering she seemed genuinely upset she left them behind, so even to the audience, this could be seen as her just wanting an excuse to return to them without admitting it. However, a mob does turn up, and they are mad because they realize that they gave her free stuff, and they feel scammed for some reason. This was actually pretty hilarious, and my favorite episode of the volume. It made no sense, and it just played it off really well. The biggest twist to me was in the end when Miss Chalice revealed to the boys that she was a ghost. I had somehow missed that quick shot where she flew through the wall in Volume 1, or somehow repressed it, and I had no idea that this was about to happen, though I of course did know that she was a spirit in the games. In the sequel, however, she is now asking for Cuphead and Mugman to help her. She has found a baker that creates cookies that allow her to switch places temporarily with a living person, allowing her to be human, or Cupheadian, or whatever their species is. Meanwhile, one of the boys, such as Mugman, has to take her place as a ghost. According to the baker, if they collect enough ingredients from mean bosses, he can create a tart that would make Miss Chalice permanently human. The three set out on a quest where you can alternate into Miss Chalice, who has her own special jump. After collecting the ingredients, you'd return to find the only way to actually make the shift permanent was to give up another person's soul, something Miss Chalice isn't willing to do. With this in mind, the Cupheads beat up the final boss and walk out of the bakery. The baker would go to prison, and Miss Chalice would be upset that she can't return to life, but be happy that she made friends with the boys, making her story very different from the show, but thematically similar on that friendship note. In the show, Miss Chalice can shift into human at will and seems to enjoy being a ghost for the ease of travel, and likely has different places she likes to hang out all over Inkwell Island or even the world. Throughout the season, there were of course appearances from characters and bosses in the first game, though none from the DLC aside from Miss Chalice that I had noticed. The first episode takes place largely in prison, as discussed before, and introduces us to a few prisoners, one of which, Miss Cyclops, is a mini-boss in the games that chases you down a level as you try to escape. Episode 2 of course focused on Miss Chalice. While playing around outside, we did get a glimpse of a boss I have been hoping to see since the show started, Hilda Berg, this transforming airplane to giant moon lady boss. Like the other bosses in the original game, she was one of the many people who had sold her soul to the devil that Cuphead was collecting in order to get his own soul back. Here in the show, she just circles around them before they get hit by a train, and she doesn't even come back. I really hope this isn't the last we see of her, but I know that it is hard to introduce a character like her into the plot in a sensible way, considering the show is a lot less adventure and action-oriented than the games, but she's really cool, and I hope she has an extended plot like some of the other bosses we see in future episodes. In Episode 3, Cuphead and Mugman are playing around on a ship and end up lost at sea with Captain Brineybeard, a boss in the games. Instead of owing his soul to the devil, he has fallen in love with another boss, Kala Maria, a giant Medusa octopus woman. In the games, their stories are unrelated, but here the captain has fallen in love with her and has enlisted Cuphead and Mugman's help in wooing her. She is very food fixated and eats anything from seafood delicacies to people, and while charmed by the captain, she is more focused on her career and keeps trying to turn him to stone. The power of his love makes him the only one who can escape her Medusa-esque stone stare, so she decides to eat them instead. Not as anything personal, she finds him charming, but she's just a sea monster. In episode 4, Cuphead and Mugman break up and decide to find new brothers. While on the hunt at the park, he sees Ribby and Croaker from Season 1, who were also bosses early on in the game, though you should watch my previous video for more information on them. No boss characters were used in this episode, but Bullboy did return as such a twisted and fun character from Season 1, which was something I enjoyed personally. In episode 5, the show takes a turn for the weird when Cuphead discovers a pocket dimension of sweets and treats ruled over by Baron von Bonbon. In this world, she tries to capture Cuphead by creating simple Garden of Eden-style rules for him to easily break, tempting him by saying the only thing he can't eat is the one thing that is most delicious, otherwise he'd be trapped there forever. I hope to see her return as well. In episode 6, Brineybeard and Kala Maria return in the form of romantic novel stories that Mugman imagines himself into, where he ends up seducing Kala Maria as Brineybeard. In episode 7, a small background character in the game named Ludwig ended up being Mugman's teacher for one episode. In episode 8, we finally see the return of the Devil and King Dice, who in Season 1 was going after Cuphead's soul for quite a few episodes. Here, they learn they have reached an expiration date on the claims to Cuphead's soul, but the Devil keeps trying to steal it anyways. In the original game, the plot with the Devil was wrapped up entirely at the very end, with the DLC for Miss Chalice being an entirely new plot just about collecting ingredients. So I'm curious to see how the Devil plot will continue to unravel in the show. As we see in later episodes, it's not quite resolved. In episode 9, Miss Chalice returns, this time wanting to show off her ghost powers to the boys, and the gang cooks up a scheme to have her haunt places, have Cuphead and Mugman pretend to ghost bust her, and then get paid by the owners of the haunted properties. One character from the games, Sally Stageplay, appears. She's a boss in the games and one of the rare human characters like Captain Briney, but here she's just a woman running a theater in town that gets haunted by Miss Chalice, and is actually kind of friendly to the boys. In episode 10, the boys are trying to make cake for Elder Kettle, but are harassed by a rat living in their walls, Werner Werman, yet another video game boss who uses a lot of kitchen-based scrap technology to torment the kids who don't want Elder Kettle to know that a rat got in the house because they left the door open. I liked when they changed his accent for his final line. In episode 11, we mostly focus on Elder Kettle, who in the games is a lot more helpful to the boys as opposed to trying to discipline them, giving them upgrades and guidance to fight their bad guys. Episode 12 had no new characters, but in episode 13 we got to see the return of the Devil, who has decided to kidnap Mugman after Cuphead steals his pitchfork, ending the volume on yet another cliffhanger. All in all, I found this season to be even more funny than the last. I kind of wished it used the action elements in the games. I'd really like to see Cuphead and Mugman running around with their finger guns, just being able to blast some cool monsters while on a quest to save his soul. But the show is so refreshing and old school and not pushing any particular ideas or narratives or themes. It's just a fun, old-fashioned cartoon in a modern way, and I really just love the antics of just seeing boys being stupid and girls just being annoyed by it. It reminds me of cartoons from my own childhood, and it doesn't really need to be anything more than that. That being said, I am excited for the higher stakes we'll return to next volume with Mugman being kidnapped, and I'll definitely be doing a video breaking down any new bosses or characters they work into the show, so hit that subscribe button so you don't miss it, and let me know your thoughts on which characters you were happy to see, which ones you're still hoping to see, and what kind of role you wish they had in the show. See you guys next time.